So, welcome everyone to our, I guess, third installment now of our new education series that we are running at Discover New England. We're trying to bring some great opportunities and education pieces to all of our partners in the hospitality industry throughout the 6 New England states. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Carrie Tripp. I'm the Director of the Product and Sales for Discover New England. Also joining us today is Michelle Cota, who is the Director of the organization, and also Joe, Courtney Sable. I always say it backwards, don't I? Joe, nope, got it right that time. Joe Sable Courtney, there we go, who is our FAM and content manager. So you have all three of us on the call today. We're so excited that you're joining us. Today's topic is travel trends for adventure travel, brought to you by our friends at Adventure Travel Trade Association. We are so excited to have this relationship with especially Eva and Serena, who are willing to chat with us today about their program. So I'm so excited for that. And just if you don't know, Discover New England is a regional destination marketing organization founded in 1992 by all 6 New England states. And our prime focus is really to bring opportunities both through creative or cooperative marketing and through sales missions and education for international travel to New England. So it's a pretty exciting thing that we get to do. And I actually really love my job, so it's kind of fun. And then offering the education component is the next level of what we're working on. And I'm looking to bring these to you probably every other month. And it just seems like with Summit, we've been able to do it once a month, which is fantastic. But I will ask if anybody has topics that you would like us to cover or think would be important for us to help you with for the international market. I would love to hear what your suggestions are. Please just email me, let me know, reach out in any way you'd like. The Q&A is open for this session. So if you have questions as Eva and Serena are going through their presentation, please don't hesitate to type them in, and we've left time at the end so we can answer questions, and we're happy to do so. Chat is not enabled for the participants for this one. So we're excited for this. I think we'll just dive right in. So I'd like to introduce Serena Minfroni, right? Serena, yeah, kind of, sort of. Serena is in Italy, so of course I didn't say it appropriately, but close enough for my American English, right? Serena is the Research and Sustainability Coordinator. And also joining us today is Eva Mossberg, who is Partner Manager for North America and Global Gear Brands. That's not easy, Eva. It doesn't really slide off the tongue.
Just call it Eva's good. Eva's good enough.
Eva's good enough. Eva joins us. So half the time she's in Massachusetts, half the time she's in New Hampshire. We were trying to come up with a way to put those together yesterday, and I think I'll just leave the 2 states together like that. So with this, I'd like to turn it over to Eva, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having us. Just to confuse matters further, I'm actually from Sweden. So just because people always ask, that's not a Massachusetts accent. And no, it is not. I grew up in Sweden, spent 19 years there, came here to visit a friend for 3 months, and it's been well over 30 years. So here we are. Anyway, thank you very much for coming. Some of you I might have met at the D&E Summit, which was an amazing event. I have a lot to cover. We have a lot to cover. So I am going to just go straight to the agenda. I'm going to give a little overview about the Adventure Travel Trade Association, so you know what we do and who we are, what we do and why we do it. I'm going to talk about the adventure traveler. Who is the adventure traveler? The case for why adventure travel is good for business and for destinations. We'll talk about trends and why sustainability is at the core of adventure travel. About the ATTA. So this, the ATTA, we've been in the driver's seat and inspiring development of adventure, outdoors, active and responsible tourism throughout the globe. We've been at this for about 20 years, and we've gathered some knowledge, some information, some good people who provide us with really valuable resources. And we've also gathered a large community. As an association, we provide, it's a membership-driven organization. We provide our members with inspiration, networking opportunities. We have a lot of different spokes to our hub that I'll cover in more detail later on. But in essence, what we do, we bring the supply and demand together. What brings us all together is our mission to empower the global travel community to protect nature and to conserve cultural heritage while creating shared economic value. It's very different from many of the tourism segments of the market, and this really is what brings us all together as a community. Our membership is comprised of tour operators, adventure media, accommodations, industry partner, travel advisors, and tourism board. As you can see, tour operators make up a large portion of our membership. And again, just a reminder that this is a global organization. You can see on the left side here where we're located, or where our members are located. The ATTA, actually, we're about 40 people on staff, and we have been working remotely ever since the beginning. So well before it became popular with COVID, we've all been remotely. We are all over the place, on almost all continents, actually. Our media, I want to just talk a little bit about our media, because it is carefully procured. All these other membership categories, you can buy your way into them. But media, they have to go through an application process. So this is to ensure that they don't write something about Pantanal in Brazil one day, and how the sustainability and the sustainability aspects of that is super important. And then they go on a Disney cruise line the next day and write about that. So we want to make sure that they're on brand with adventure travel, excuse me, with adventure travel and what it is we do. Some sample members, as you can see, the tourism boards, the tour operators, the gear companies, the media companies, and industry partners. Industry partners, we always get questions on, who are they? Well, they are the portions of they make up the piece of adventure travel that really form the backbone, if you will. Not the fun, glitzy pieces, but your operating systems, your insurance companies, your all of that really operational backbone. So altogether, we have about 1,300 business members. But if you were regularly connected to more than 40,000 people through our social media outlets and our newsletters, we put out a newsletter called the Adventure Travel News once every 2 weeks, and that reaches about 40,000 adventure travel professionals around the world. And then you can see, of course, the other numbers here. So fairly large followers, a large number of followers. And if you look at even more, if you look at our members audience, excuse me, our media membership audience and the consumer audience were, there's a big number up there. I had to look it up. It's 100,000 million people. We provide a lot of solutions to our members and to our community. We do research, education, trade connections, events. We'll talk more about the events. And we have a storytelling team. We do strategic partnerships with destinations. We work with media. And also, as our clients are B2B, we realize, of course, that our B2B, our end B, their clients or your clients are often the consumer. So we're working on, we have a website called adventure.travel, which is our consumer-facing website. We have not, because our primary client to serve is the businesses, this has not been a focus of ours, but it is something that we're breathing new life into it, and adding more options there for our businesses to connect with consumers. So B2B2C. More to come on that. Not in this presentation, I promise. Our events, as I said, this is one of our greatest ways to connect our community. And our events, they range from smaller free Adventure Connect events. We had one last week in Portland, Maine. When we do these as a way to connect our community, to keep everybody engaged, to connect, to meet, the Adventure Connects are open to members and non-members. So it's a way to to spread the word and get more people into the community and keep the existing community together. So all the way from Adventure Connects to our big annual event called the Adventure Travel World Summit, which is a 4-day event that travels around the world. And we gather about 800 to 850 of our closest friends. We have a smaller version that's called Adventure Elevate, and that started as a North American event. Same idea as the Adventure Travel World Summit. It's a networking event with inspirational and educational content. It is not a trade show. It started as a North American event, but now this year we just finished up one in Latin America, and next week we have an Adventure Elevate in Austria that's starting. That's our first European Adventure Elevate. Super exciting. And then the Adventure Elevate North America, the premier event in my opinion, is in Asheville, North Carolina, June 11 to 13. So that about the ATTA. Let's talk about the adventure traveler. Adventure can, it's a spectrum. So it can be, what I think is adventure is very different from what my father thinks is adventure. So here are just a couple of different examples of what is the adventure traveler. It can be this. They can be hikers. It can be bikers. They can stay in a nice yurt. It can be, but wait, why this? Well, because at the Adventure Travel Trade Association, we define adventure travel as a combination of nature, activity, and culture. The traveler experience, the travelers, they always seek a challenge, the novel and unique. They want a wellness component. They want to feel transformed in one way or another, and also have some sort of an impact. And we'll talk about what motivates travelers in a minute. But this is kind of how we defined it, because you can also say nature and activity, that's recreation. Once you add the culture, it's very, very different. I'll give an example. So I was in Namibia last summer, our summer, their winter, in July. And, I'm riding a horse across the desert, and true story. And I'm looking up and I'm like, this kind of looks like Arizona. Like, strike me dead now. I can't see that I'm in Namibia. But then, of course, when I realized, when I sort of thought one step further, the culture was so far from Arizona that I could possibly get, the food and the people and different lizards and wildlife. So it's that piece that you really, that's what makes it so much more impactful. So nature, culture, and activity. The 2 out of those 3 is what sort of defines an adventure travel experience for the ATTA and our community. So why is adventure travel so good for business and for destinations? Well, first off, it's a big market. The international adventure market is almost as large as the global prescription drug sales. I'll let that sink in. With that amount of economic impact, we also obviously have, as an industry, a huge opportunity to change the world, quite frankly. The adventure travel impact from an economic perspective, when you look at mass tourism compared to adventure tourism, 14% of the revenues remain in the country, compared to 65% of adventure tourism. Adventure tourism also generates more jobs. So compared to 1.5 on the mass tourism, 2.6 local jobs per 100,000. That's an odd number. I'm sure it should be 100,000 USD. And you can also see, I like the little images up top. It takes 100 cruise tourists to generate the same amount of money as 4 adventure travelers. So you picture your little towns with 100 cruise tourists walking down Main Street versus 4 people walking down Main Street, with the sort of the leftovers of the mass tourism of 1.5 jobs, 14% of what they spent that stays in that community, versus the 4 travelers where they spend with 65% stays. most popular adventure price and adventure trip pricing. This is these are numbers from our adventure travel snapshot. It's an annual survey that we do every year. These are 2023. It's from the 2023 survey. I do have some 2024 data, but it's just literally, we just closed the survey last week. So very, very hot off the press and not in a pretty presentable format yet. So median markup on an adventure travel trip is 25%, median number of nights, 8, and a median trip price of 3,000. When you look at that, how that trickles down the spend, 76% of that 3,000 is spent with the local suppliers. So almost $2,300 plus average spend per guest is almost $200 per person. But we all know that pre-pandemic challenges are coming back in some areas, and challenges and opportunities, I'm going to say, because as much as we see over tourism, we see tension between locals and tourists, we see younger people leaving rural areas. We also see this flight to nature, that during the pandemic, people realized that there was a whole world outside. And with that, you know, in some areas, I think Venice even is on there too, Serena, is that right? They have imposed restrictions to control crowds. When we had the solar eclipse here in New England a couple of weeks ago, it was, you know, there was a lot of media coverage and, you know, on how to control the crowds. I don't know how many of you sat in traffic, but I avoided it, but I know many of my friends did. But adventure travel could really help to address these when implemented strategically. We can diversify source market, we can disperse travelers across the whole country, including those rural areas, and providing financial opportunities for people to stay where they grew up. Promotes understanding, and safety and destination management are obviously part and parcel of this as well. Numbers, stats, facts, again, from our snapshot, looking back at who this adventure traveler is. It is not your 20-year-old swinging off of a bungee jump. Their average age is between 45 and 64, the majority, and 78% book double occupancy and 22 book single. We see also that, I'm actually now going to flick to my notes here because here I come with the 2024 numbers that I don't have in my mind yet. All I can say about this slide is that this trend of families, women, and travelers age 50 and over, it's a trend that's continued into 2023. So when we did the 2024 snapshot, these markets are becoming key markets. So families, women, and travelers over 50. Hot trending, high demand trips. Tell me a destination that doesn't want any of these. Remote destination trails, off-peak travel, longer duration, greener, sustainable, and low impact itineraries. In 2024, we don't see a lot of change. It's still hiking, trekking, cultural, culinary, cycling, e-bikes is a newcomer, and photography is also a new one. So the e-bike has definitely leveled the playing field for adventure travel and the ability for people to get out in the countryside, because it no longer requires that you are in tip-top physical shape. Hot trending motivations, new experiences, going off the beaten track, to travel like local, cultural encounters. Adventure travel is a status symbol. 2024 top trending consumer motivation, go off the beaten track, sounds familiar. New experiences, sound familiar. Travel like a local, sounds sounds familiar. Low and cultural encounters also. The new one is last chance travel. So this is where people like, oh, we have to go to fill in the blank before it disappears. Before we can't go to Venice anymore, we're going to go now. Travelers want to see unique places and have unique experiences, interact with the local people, and learn about their cultures. Attracting guests. So what do guests look for? They look for unique experiences authentic to the local destination. They look to interact with local people and to indulge in locally produced food and drink, which leads in 2024, when tour operators were asked, what are your top 3 priorities? And they responded, traveler experiences, product development, and sustainability. Supplier efforts, what have they done to meet this demand? They collaborate with local and regional people and organizations. They take actions to ensure that all employees are compensated fairly. They adapt their products and experiences to be more sustainable by default. Buyer efforts, same question. What have they done? They collaborate with local and regional people and organizations. They have adapted the product experiences to be more sustainable. They're providing specific guidelines to guests to interact responsibly with nature. And they're working with suppliers to share guidance on how to be more sustainable. So all this points very much to the fact that adventure travel is very, very closely aligned with sustainability, and that adventure travel takes sustainability very, very seriously. With that, I'm going to mute myself and pass it off to Serena.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eva, and thank you everyone for joining us. So as Eva suggested, we're going to talk about why adventure travel takes sustainability extremely seriously. But first of all, sustainability is a very, very broad word. So let's start from the basics. Next slide. So what you see here in this chart is some very overwhelming and alarming, for sure, data on global surface air temperature in March 2024. There's a twin of this chart with April 2024, and spoiler, nothing has changed at all. So in short, March 2024 was the warmest March on record, with both surface temperature and sea surface temperature hitting new highs. Compared to the pre-industrial period, March 2024 was 1.68 degrees Celsius warmer. That will be approximately 35 degrees Fahrenheit, I suppose. So I don't know how familiar you might be with all of this, but the sensation I usually get is that numbers and charts and figures are quite detached, a bit cold, detached from the reality. So next slide. How does this translate into the real life? So I'm sure that now that you see these pictures, the chart we've seen before makes a little bit more sense. So we might be very familiar with the consequences of climate change on the environment and consequently on destinations. So these are only a few examples of what increasing temperatures can cause to natural resources, animals, and most importantly, people, be them locals or travelers. So here's when and where sustainability joins the game. Next slide. So we are sure that sustainability will become a core aspect for every business in the future, tourism industry included, but navigating this realm of sustainability will not get any easier. Sustainability without guidance is tricky and can even be counterproductive at times, as you can see in some of those headlines we've put in the slide. Next. Yeah, another obstacle will be communicating why and how purchasing products that are consciously designed and sustainable is essential. And last but not least, in the next slide, the variety of solutions from which the tourist industry can seek help, guidance, and knowledge. I like to call this a jungle of solution, actually. Don't get me wrong. I think every solution listed here, which are just examples, is very valid, but navigating the differences between those categories and what they can offer can be complicated at times. Next slide. So now what? Climate change is real, it has consequences, and sustainability will become a core aspect, but it will not get easier. So what do we do now? What we know at ATTA is that running a sustainable business is no longer an option, like a nice to have. embracing a sustainable business approach is not just an ethical imperative. It's not just good for the environment. It is also a strategic business decision because it entails building a more competitive business in a rapidly evolving market and meeting the needs of those travelers who are willing to seek out responsible and conscious travel experiences. At the same time, we know that the path towards becoming a more sustainable can be different and can be difficult and different depending on a variety of factors. What it really takes is having a clear vision and, very simply put, a plan. Next slide. So what is this plan? So we think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. In our personal path towards becoming a more sustainable business, we've learned that going back to the basics, to what is simple and accessible, is the best way to start this journey. As a global organization with very long experience, something like more than 20 years, we know that we've learned that sustainability means so many different things to so many different people. And this depends on where they come from, what the size of the business, what are the issues they may face in their everyday life, be it personal or professional life. So we believe that the best approach is to go back to the basics, as I said before, to the foundational concept of sustainability that includes the three pillars, the environmental, economic, and social aspect of sustainability, and applying it to where we are and what we have. An expression I really like here is think global and act local. Many times we're drawn to think that the major environmental and social issues that climate change can bring are actually very far from us. And me as an European, sometimes I do think this too, because I feel like those consequences are far from me. But of course, this is not true. Hence, think global and act local, because local is where the real change begins and global is where the consequences of a sustainable behavior go at the end of the day. So to sum this up, sustainability is complex, but it does bring benefits. The goal now, the ultimate goal, is to make the process of becoming more sustainable business or more sustainable in general simpler, more affordable, and more accessible. Next slide. So the first step is to start from where you are, because every sustainable action has to make sense to you and to your business. And the best way to learn what is best for you is gaining knowledge. And at ETTA, in the next slide, you can see one of the solutions we've proposed to members and non-members. We're very practical, so if you like to scan the QR code, you'll be redirected to the homepage of the Sustainability Resource Center, a hub we launched earlier this year that gathers all the production ETTA and its members has done around sustainability. And in the next slide, you can see an examples of those resources you can find. Again, you can scan the QR code and see it for yourself. This is a very handy and ready to use guide or checklist of how to design or start designing a sustainable tourism experiences, of course. Next slide. So the second step for this path forward is to join a community of peers. And the reason is very simple, because it makes you stronger and more comfortable. Being among peers means sharing knowledge, sharing successes, but also, and most importantly, I would say, sharing the hiccups, the challenges, the issues you might face. And this gives you strength at the end of the day. And this is not something we are making up. This is actually something that comes, we get a lot from our community. So I'm just quoting what the community says. Next slide, you can see in this pyramid iceberg the different levels of membership we have. And what I really want to stress here is that even if you join the community membership, you will be granted access to to any of our resources, including those in the Sustainability Resource Center. ATTA strongly believes in the power of sharing knowledge. Last but not least, again, the third step, as Eva has mentioned before, the market activation for trade and consumers. So our B2B2C side. So from our perspective, sustainability involves a business-driven approach. So as you gain knowledge, ideally, as you gain knowledge around what is the best sustainable solution and option for your business, you should concurrently craft a narrative and share a story that talks about your path. So it's about building a sustainable business while telling a story in a very authentic way and unique way. Because today, what holds power is actually the way you convey your story. You tell your story, you tell what you're doing, and you are transparent about what you're doing. And of course, this has the benefit of attracting the right kind of travelers. And again, in the next slide, you will see our Adventure.travel homepage, which is our consumer side product. And it's basically a platform where our members, business members, share their story about their sustainable product. So to sum this up in the next slide, we can see the steps we've described. So start from where you are, because anything you do has to make sense for you and you only. Join a community of peers, and then think about your story and how to tell your story. What is the result? In the next slide, you can see that having a business-oriented approach in sustainability, joining a community to share the same story you have, or the same intentions you have, and activate their market, telling your story, will make your company more competitive and resilient for the future. I would like to close this short session telling you that the adventure traveler, but also the adventure travel, is not only what a destination wants, but it is what a destination needs. Thank you very much for your time. And if you have any other questions, Eva and I are here to answer.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been so informative. The data and the opportunities here are just absolutely astounding. At this moment, there are no questions in the Q&A, which is, I don't know. Please don't hesitate, folks. If you are thinking anything or questioning or want to see a stat again, let us know. But I will say, I want to thank both Serena and Eva. We really appreciate you being able to be here today with us to talk about such great information and the trends. I want to put a little bit of an emphasis on something that both Serena and Eva hit on earlier: nature, activity, culture, right? Add to that the opportunity and the questions about sustainability. And those are the things that Michelle and I are talking about pretty consistently at our trade shows and sales missions. And I think it's super important that we are together looking at that. I think that what I'm seeing and what I'm actually learning in my role here is that Europeans are further ahead of us when it comes to sustainability practices, and that the United States is working to catch up. And I think we are, right? We're working hard to catch up, and we are being more mindful and thoughtful about sustainable and being sustainable and showing folks that we are sustainable. And I think it's really important that we continue that. We just got a question in the Q&A. Michael Brady asks if we can receive a copy of the recording. So you jumped ahead, Michael, but we will be putting this recording on the discovernewengland.org site. All of our webinars will be hosted there, so you can always go back, refer to, and we encourage you to have other team members at your businesses watch it as well. Eva, you have a hand raised.
I just wanted to add a couple of things in regards to the 2023 survey results, which will be coming out in the 2024 snapshot. That will be available, I believe, in the next 3 or 4 weeks. And if you sign up as a community member, again, it doesn't cost you anything. It gives you access to a lot of educational resources, but also the Adventure Travel newsletter. The Adventure Travel newsletter. It's an e-letter that comes out every 2 weeks, and if you keep your eyes on that, then you will know when the snapshot is coming out. Also, I know from the people I met at the DNE, they felt very strongly that they needed to be ready with market-ready products to enter this, this segment of the market, adventure travel. That is so far from the truth. We are all growing all the time, and travel is a very, very much of a moving target and developing industry, which is what makes it so exciting and so challenging. The minute you feel like you finally figured something out, then it's changing, right? So there is absolutely no need to be ready to sell. There are between the DNE and the ATTA, we have so many resources that it's our job to share with you so that you grow your business and to connect with other people. That's what it's all about. And just an interesting fact also in regards to the number of our tour operators, again, almost 60% of our members are tour operators. 40% are tour operators, 60% are in North America. I get that backwards. Anyway, let's just call it 50-50. So when we asked the question 2 years ago, how many of them were working towards sustainability benchmark, 46% said they were. When we asked that same question this year, 68%
Wow.
are working towards a sustainability certification or just benchmarking. So the trend is definitely that people are responding to the demand of the traveler, to the demand of Mother Earth. It's really, I would say it's the way forward.
Well,
Also to protect our resources, we have to.
Right. And I think, Eva, when you talked about the fact that activity, so adventure, right? When we talk adventure, and I know I've had this conversation with a lot of people, they think it's high energy, high adrenaline adventure travel, right? And that's not really what we're talking about. And I'm so glad that you were able to have that conversation with us, because I think that demystifies it a little bit. For people saying, well, I don't know how to be involved in adventure travel because, we just have great walking paths around the property, and that's what it is, really giving the experience, no matter what the experience is. Adventure for me is different from adventure for you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you just from the market perspective, 80%, so we divide adventure travel into soft adventure and hard adventure. 80% of the adventure travel market, the travelers, they fall in the category of soft adventure. They want a nice bike ride on an e-bike to a vineyard or to a brew pub, or they want that. Again, 80%, they are not the thrill seekers. Quite frankly, I think most thrill seekers, speaking to the numbers also, they don't necessarily, many of them, I think, arrange their own trips, or they go with very niche operators. Mm-hmm. And they don't go through this funnel of the adventure travel.
Yeah, I agree with you. We had another question. Caroline asked, do you have info on your website for the criteria to be certified in sustainability? Serena, maybe that's a question for you.
It's coming. We're working on it. I can't tell you an exact date, but it is coming. We're launching a series of resources around getting certified, understanding the difference between pledges, declarations, frameworks, and certifications. So the slide I showed you, and it's coming anyway.
Perfect.
But to add to that, sorry, Carrie.
No.
We have partnered with Travel Life, and it's an offer for members to gain access to the information for free and work towards a certification process. The fee that applies through Travel Life is when you actually go for the certification, when they come out and do the inspection, when they do the audit. So the education, the information is there at your fingertips for free.
So just to clarify, if I join as a community member, I can go on, I can see these sustainable opportunities, the toolkit, if you will, that you're putting together for it will be visible to me. And then I just pay if I want the actual certification on my website or my whatever.
Yes, makes
Travel Life, I think, is a member benefit.
Yeah.
I think that's a business, yeah, it's a business member benefit. The sustainability toolkit is accessible for all.
Perfect.
The benefit through Travel Life is for business members.
Fantastic. This is great. Any other questions last minute? I really appreciate, Serena, both you and Eva being here. Serena, I know this is the end of your day, so I hope you get to relax now and stop thinking about the fact that you had to do a webinar at the end of your day. And Eva, thank you so much for being here. You've been, it's been tremendous to start forming a partnership with ATTA, and I've had many conversations about you and the conversations you've had at Summit with some of our folks, and I really appreciate that. It really is important that people understand that nature activity culture, I love how you said that, nature activity culture with sustainable practices is the way of the future and what people are looking for. For folks, if you haven't looked on the Discover New England site lately, there's a couple new tools that we've been honing this last year. One is we have a relationship with Wander Maps, and D&E has been creating inspirational trails to give people ideas of different things to do while they're visiting. This tool is really aimed at the receptive operators, the tour operators, to help them come up with some new opportunities, new activities, and to mix things in with some of the old, right? So we're really taking a proactive look and creating these itineraries and these inspirational trails. Also, Michelle and Joe have been working really hard on creating some 14-day itineraries, and those will be rolling out soon. And there's adventure, travel, there's culture, there's nature, there's all these things along with sustainability. So we are really working with our partners to try and make sure that we are rolling out the things that folks want to see in order to sell to their own clients. And so anything that you're doing that we're not aware of that could be helpful in this, we'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you so much for participating today. Thank you for all the folks that are here listening. And I encourage you to share this opportunity to hear this great information with your colleagues, friends, people within the industry. We're happy to continue the conversation always. Serena and Eva, thank you so very much. And I think with that, there's nothing else in the Q&A. I say we're ending spot on time. Thank you, ladies, very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.